Tim Cowlishaw, Dallas Morning News, Around the Horn contributor. 20th anniversary Around the Horn. And who would have thought? Not me. I had the under, but, you put sports writers on there, put some makeup, let them color their hair, and they're just like the rest of us. Congratulations, Tim.
When you saw that opening lineup, you definitely took the under.
How many times? How many times were you on there?
TJ Simers, Bob Ryan, and myself. 20 years. Yes, tonight, 7:00 Eastern. Be there. Anniversary show.
What do you remember about the debut episode of Around the Horn?
That I wasn't on it. That there were 5 of us. Still kills me to this day. There were 5 of us. Obviously, we had to have a rotation. I was on the second show. I was the first one to sit.
Any arguments ever spill over where you actually took something personally?
In the early days, I think we all did a little bit, but mainly what I just said. Why am I not on the show? I did all the rehearsals. What do you want from me? But then I've also seen footage of my first appearance, and I should never have been on again after that. So we were all a little rough. Not that we're great now, but we were all a little rough 20 years ago. It's pretty funny to watch. Do
you understand the scoring system on Around the Horn?
It's a little like Olympic boxing. It's a little tough to see where all the points are coming from or not. But with 513 wins under my belt, I can't complain too much.
Wow.
How about a round of applause for Tim Cowlishaw?
Passed Cy Young not that long ago.
Yeah.
So
that's very impressive. Very impressive.
Yes, clearly.
All right. The Cowboys got T.Y. Hilton. Your reaction was?
I did not know he was still interested in playing football. I can't remember the last time I had him on my fantasy team. It's been a minute. But it says they screwed up when they sent Amari Cooper to Cleveland for a 5th-round pick. And that's that. We've got so many receivers. We're fine. They drafted Jalen Tolbert in the 3rd round. I believe he has 2 catches this year and is seldom on the field. And, of course, James Washington got hurt in training camp and has no catches. So they're very thin. If they lost, you could argue Micah Parsons might be the most important player on the team. CeeDee Lamb might be the second most indispensable because they have just no receiving depth, and that's why they got T.Y. Hilton now. We'll see what that means.
But you also had the OBJ stories, rumors that, for the last 2 months here, Tim.
Right. And that tells you, it surprised me Jerry was as interested in Beckham as he was. And I think they were very interested right up until they gave him whatever their limited physical was. And they said he's not going to play until at least the playoffs. So what are we doing here? We're trying to get some guy for next year. But yeah, they've felt they're very short at receiver. Michael Gallup is their second best receiver. He's coming off an ACL tear, so he's okay, and he's starting to look all right. But that's why he throws the ball to Dalton Schultz so much.
Is there a level of desperation with Jerry Jones with the Cowboys in a Super Bowl?
Yeah, more than there has been. I think turning 80 had something to do with it. I think passing the 25 years with no NFC Championship game appearances mark had something to do with it. Any ongoing battles with Jimmy always have something to do with it. But it does feel he sounds a little different the last, I'd say 2 years, but really this year, because this is sort of the first completely normal year back in the NFL. And I think there's enough desperation in his voice that to consider things like Beckham and doing things, but they really haven't changed the way they run the club, which is still a very, very cautious, frugal way to do it.
How much better is Philly than Dallas?
I thought they were a lot better. Then I thought the 2 teams were about the same. And now I think Philly went through that sinking spell where they almost lost to the Colts and lost to Washington. But they look like they really, when the rookie defensive tackle was hurt from Georgia, they went out and got Ndamukong Suh. Now Jordan Davis is back. They look really good up front on defense. I think Philly's a little better. I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas wins the rematch, but I don't think that's going to matter because I don't think the Eagles are going to lose. I think they've shown against the Titans and the Giants, these were supposed to be the games they could lose, and they crushed them. So I think Philly's just got it going a little better this year. They have more weapons, and I think Jalen Hurts is probably the MVP of the league.
I thought Tony Pollard has been the one guy that you can't do without. I know Parsons is wonderful, but
right.
Pollard to me is maybe the team MVP.
No, I wouldn't dispute that. Anytime they've had the offense really going against Minnesota or a couple other games, it's been him. And Zeke still has a role here, but Tony Pollard is clearly their most dangerous player, their most dangerous back. I still don't think they use him enough some games, but they've come around on that this year and played him a little more. And I think they've gotten off the Zeke train a bit. Yeah, I think Pollard and Parsons and Lamb and Diggs are the reasons you feel differently about this team than previous Cowboy teams. I just don't know if it'll matter if they got to play all their playoff games on the road.
And I wonder about Mike McCarthy. It feels like we bring this up every year, but is there a NFC title game or bust for Mike McCarthy? Do you think there is a ceiling where Jerry's he has to get there or else?
I don't think so. If they're going to go like 13-4, say, and have maybe tied for the second best record in the NFL, but they don't win the division.
Yeah.
So they got to beat Tampa Bay. They got to beat the under 500 Tampa Bay Bucks. Then what if they go play Philly in the next week and they lose a tight game there? I don't think there's an urgency, a rush to go get Sean Payton. But if it's bad, if it looked as bad as the loss to San Francisco, where they didn't look prepared last year and they just got run over, and in a home game, no less, the only home team to lose that weekend, that would be very different. So I think it depends on how this plays out, how they play Philly. But I think for now, he's bought himself at least another year.
How does that stadium need $300 million in improvements, Tim?
Well, they could lower the press box so we could see the field from that height, from whatever height we're on. I don't think that's what they're going to do, though. I don't know. Are they going to put curtains up that Jerry doesn't want to put up so that the sun isn't in Messi's eyes in 4 years? I don't know. How is it falling apart after 13 years? It doesn't seem to be. Maybe there's going to be a walkway from the Walmart across the street to get to the end of the stadium. I'm not
so when Messi's playing in the MLS, do you think that Jerry wants to put up curtains so the sun doesn't get in Messi's eyes?
Yeah, he's requested it specifically. So he doesn't care about his receiver's eyes.
Well, congratulations on 20 years with Around the Horn.
20?
Yeah.
Whew.
Pretty.
Do we have 20 more in us?
No, you don't.
Do we have 2?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But they got to get some new blood, younger, people.
Oh my gosh. That's all we have is new blood. That is all I am awash in new blood on that show.
Are you the Tom Brady of Around the Horn?
Well, if I am, what is Woody? I mean, let's be
he's George Blanda.
That's okay. Yes, in that case, I'll take that. He's a straight-on kicker and old crusty quarterback.
Well, they couldn't have done it without you. They could not have done it without you.
How could they?
They could.
I think you'll see in the show tonight, which I know you'll be watching, you'll see I'm kind of the key to the whole thing, the glue, as it were.
It might be too emotional for me to watch.
If you are invested in this show, I do hear from you a lot.
I do.
After a tough loss, usually.
I text Cowlishaw after he loses. If he loses in Showdown, I'm like, you got ripped off.
I'm glad to know someone is out there who sees the same thing I do.
There's nobody in your family who cares as much as I do.
Not even close.
Thank you, Tim. Great to talk to you.
All right.
That's Tim Cowlishaw, Dallas Morning News. Around the Horn, 20 years.